Hey guys, how's it going? Okay, last video I talked about insulation and why I won't use spray foam. This video I'm going to talk about insulation part 2, if you will, and why I will not use fiberglass, Roxol, or denim. Two main reasons. Number one, Roxol, fiberglass, and denim. I know fiberglass and denim for sure will absorb moisture. So, the thing is, you could put a vapor barrier on and all that jazz. But from my experience building a van, the chances of you puncturing that vapor barrier are very high. Or at least they were for me. And once you put the vapor barrier on, you really kind of got to stick to that model. But I just feel like the vapor barrier at some point is going to fail. And water has a way of finding its way in places you don't want it to go. Now, if you could take your van apart once a year and look inside to see if everything's dry, well, that's a potential possibility. Personally, I'm not willing to do all that. Once the van is built, I want to just leave it, and I would never take it apart. I'd just soon sell it before I took it apart. So yeah, the vapor barrier idea. So there are situations where insulation like fiberglass or denim might be more attractive, and that's mainly if you're using a wood stove as your main source of heat, because the wood stove is going to dry everything right out, and even if it gets wet, the wood stove is going to cause it to be dry again. So in that sense, I think it's okay to go with those things in terms of moisture if you're using a wood stove. If you're using propane, I personally wouldn't do it. So the other issue regarding fiberglass, Roxol, and denim is the idea that these particles of these materials are going to be floating around in your van. Now, I really don't know that this really applies to denim so much. I think denim is mostly a moisture concern, but it definitely really applies to fiberglass. And I think it mainly applies in the installation period, when you're just first building it and these things are flying around. I mean, if one of those fibers or multiple fibers get into your lungs, those things are you're never gonna get it out. And I mean, it's there's been concerns of cancer and things like that regarding these fibers embedded into your lungs. So it really isn't worth my health to use those products. So the main benefit of these forms of insulation is that they're easily to put in tight crevices and places where you can't get rigid foam insulation. So that's the main benefit. They conform to curves well. You can stuff them in places. But there is a product that you can use that is equally able to bend around curves and things like that, but doesn't have the issue of moisture and doesn't have the issue of the fine particles. And it's called Thinsulate. Thinsulate. This is a piece of Thinsulate, or Thinsulate, you may say. It does not absorb water, and there are no fine particles to embed into your lungs like fiberglass. The downside of this is it's extremely expensive. Like, to do a van, I think would cost like $500. So really expensive. Now, where did I get this from? There's a guy that I met on the cheap RV living forums, goes by the name of Vanita, and he lives in Vancouver, and I was mentioning my concerns about what kind of insulation to use. And he said that he has done his van build and that he has some extra stuff that I can have. So I said, okay, great. So I went down to Vancouver and I got it from him. Now I plan to put it in places that are really hard to get foam board in, like the ribs right by the wheel wells where my feet will be touching. I'm going to put it in there, and a couple other places. I'm not exactly 100% sure yet. Obviously my roof is already covered over, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to use it, definitely going to use it. So if you want to use a product that's going to conform to curves and is going to not affect your health in an adverse fashion, that's the stuff to use, Thin Seal It. So those are my reasons to not use fiberglass, moisture, fine particles embedded into your lugs, and denim and Roxol. Now, no product is 100% perfect, but I think that for me, rigid foam board is the way to go, and Thin Seal It if you can afford it, if you want to spend the money. And really, when it comes down to it, okay, so you spend an extra $300, your health is worth it. And you know, that mold and stuff that can grow and fiberglass is going to get wet and soggy and a mess, and imagine how much time it's going to take stuff apart to fix it. Ugh, no way, dude. Not for me. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good night.